Well, Texas just dropped the political equivalent of a bomb. Gavin Newsom's firing back, and now Beto O'Rourke? Well, he's out here doing what he does best, grandstanding with zero self-awareness. We've got to break down this redistricting mess, and also why Beto's little victory lap is really nothing to brag about.
Texas Republicans turning up the pressure on Democratic legislators who left the state to stop the redistricting scheme. Republicans have unleashed a wave of legal action aimed at forcing them back. In the last 48 hours alone, they've launched lawsuits to strip them of their seats, introduced motions to have law enforcement track them down, and even accused former Congressman Beto O'Rourke of, quote, bribing lawmakers to break quorum by raising money for their travel expenses and legal defense. A district judge has temporarily sided with Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, but
I was sued by Ken Paxton not once but twice this week. He tried to stop us from holding this rally here today in Fort Worth. He tried to stop us from raising money to support these Democrats in the fight. He lost. And one of the worst things that we could do to Ken Paxton is to right now choose to donate to have the backs of these fighters, and we are not going to let him stop us. Are you with me on that?
So now it's oppression when Republicans play hardball? Give me a break. This is politics in 2025. Texas Democrats walked out to avoid doing their job. So Texas Republicans are hitting them where it actually hurts. You don't want to show up to work? Fine. They'll track you down, sue you, and cut off your money train. And Beto wants to play the victim here? Please. He's not Rosa Parks. He's an out-of-work politician trying to stay relevant by writing checks and hoping someone calls him a hero. Newsflash, Beto. Lawsuits are what happens when you inject yourself into the middle of the legislative standoff. And here's where things get even more interesting. Because while Beto's busy patting himself on the back, Gavin Newsom is basically threatening to burn the rule book in California if Texas doesn't stand down.
How far are you willing to go to stop Trump from stealing victims?
What's so interesting about how blue that is, that was done by an independent redistricting commission. That's the difference. We tried to play by a hierarchy of both districts. It's everything about gerrymandering needs to be addressed nationally.
Yep.
And I now realize that as a promoter to do at the state level, I thought other states would follow suit because it was the right thing to do. They didn't. And so we've unilaterally disarmed. Democrats can't just sit there and act fuller than now and watch this democracy completely be degraded, watch the rule of law degraded, watch the system of co-equal branches of government completely devastated.
Y'all wouldn't feel that way if the shoes on the other foot.
Trumpism. So
y'all wouldn't
we're
feel
going to
that way
stand
if the shoes on
up.
the other
That
foot.
district, likely this state, the blue will get even darker blue. As we respond to Abbott, we respond to Donald Trump, and we assert ourselves much more aggressively. And that, your prior question,
now you going to change it for y'all, because y'all ain't winning like y'all was winning before. It don't work like that, bro.
On our heels. They're shape-shifting everything. They're winning the messaging war.
It's why I'm encouraged by what I'm hearing by Governor Newsom in California, Governor Pritzker in Illinois, even Governor Hochul in New York. They're talking about seizing the initiative and redrawing their congressional boundaries to maximize Democratic Party advantage. We got to fight fire with fire. I mean, we wish the refs were going to call the fouls, that there were going to be penalties for what they are doing right now, but the refs have left the arena.
I think people are watching this saying this is not the way that our system should work, which is why I've introduced legislation saying we should not be redrawing district lines in the middle of the decade. In addition to what's taking place in Texas, in my state, in California, the governor has actually gone a step further and said that he wants to abolish our independent Citizens Redistricting Commission and return power to politicians to throw out the map that was drawn by the independent commission and replace it with a partisan map. And I think that's the way things should work. The old saying is
y'all
that
losing now because y'all want to go into y'all field because y'all losing. It don't work like that, Pop.
Right now, across the country, and especially in California, is a very unhealthy thing for democracy.
Well, especially in California, but
y'all keep saying this shit about democracy. Quit y'all fucked over democracy when y'all fucked over Joe Biden with Kamala Harris.
We want to have bigger control of the House of Representatives, so let's pick up 5 seats if we can, and yet you're speaking the average of...
Yeah, I think how our democracy works.
You keep on saying democracy, bitch. Y'all don't have no democracy. Y'all a bunch of fucking liars.
Policy when it comes to issues, but when it comes to drawing district lines, there's an inherent conflict of interest in allowing politicians to draw their own district lines, because they're then going to be running in those very districts. So in California, because of that issue, the inherent conflict of interest, we decided to remove this power from politicians and place it in the hands of an independent citizens commission, folks who are actually barred from running for office, that's balanced in terms of people who are Democrats, Republicans, and independents, and they get feedback from people all across the state in drawing district lines that make sense, that keep communities together so we don't have these crazy shapes, or you don't have your neighbor have a different member of Congress than you do. And that's the process we've used in California after the 2010 and the 2020 census. And so I think it's a very bad thing. It's a dangerous thing for the governor of our state to now be saying, well, we're actually going to go back to the old way of doing things, giving power back to partisan politicians, sidelining this independent commission, which, by the way, it was the voters of California that established it in the first place.
This is where you know the gloves are off. Newsom saying, oh, you want a gerrymander? Fine, we'll do it bigger, better, and bluer. And Beato's applauding like it's some stroke of genius. But we've got to be clear here. Democrats created independent redistricting commissions to look morally superior. Now that Republicans are beating them at their own game, suddenly sorry. Here's my ideas. It's about expanding his campaign travel itinerary and calling it a 50-state strategy. Take a look.
I'm going to the other 43 right now to remind us all that we need to fight these folks on every single front, to your point, Jonathan. So in Omaha, where we were just a few nights ago, that's the seat Don Bacon is retiring from. We can win that seat. In Oklahoma City, where we were the night after that, we can win that seat. We can pick up seats even in Louisiana, in Missouri, in Kansas. We've got to be a 50-state party, or we will not be a national threat. And so we've got to show up everywhere for everyone, write nobody off, and take no one for granted. And we've got to organize now in 2025 to win power in 2026.
There it is. The big dramatic warning about autocracy if Democrats don't show up in all 50 states. And while he's out there, scaring donors will talk about the end of democracy as they always do. What's his plan? More rallies, more fundraising, more Beto speeches in states that don't even know his name.
It's not fun when the rallies got the gun.
Democrats aren't losing because they aren't in all 50. Gavin Newsom is threatening to match them blow for blow. And Beto will lose. Well, he's just another political tourist, hitching a ride to the chaos just to stay relevant. If Democrats want to win, well, they better figure out what they actually stand for. Because all the gerrymandering in the world is not going to save a party that can't connect with the voters. In 2026, it's shaping up to be the ugliest map war we've ever seen.
Jurisdiction over registrable property. By 1913, the Federal Reserve Act created an independent central bank, issuing Federal Reserve notes. Debt instruments backed by nothing but the property and labor of the people on March 9, 1933.
Joining us now, Emerson Music political analyst and professor of African American Studies at Princeton University, Eddie Block. Eddie, it's good to have you. Donald Trump has not announced precisely, or his team hasn't announced precisely what they might contend with or might want to change at any of these museums. But if you were going to make an educated guess, what do you imagine he's going to be going after?
First of all, it's great to see you, Kate. I think he's going to go after any story, any exhibit, any attempt to narrate the complexity of America's history. That specifically is going to revolve around issues around race, class, that we're to achieve.